blog post is all about what you should be doing, what we tell ourselves we should be doing, where we are in our lives and where we should be in our lives. I'm going to read my blog post to you, and that way you don't have to read it. I'm going to read it to you. Nothing can make you feel less adequate than the idea that you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing, especially at your age, which I hate that. That's the worst to hear. When I was in high school, I was kind of chunky. You know, it was the 80s. I had this brown curly hair, like 80s hair. I wore braces. For like 6 years, I wore braces. I was not athletic. I didn't like studying. I made bad grades. And I spent my high school years like dating this guy who couldn't go to our high school prom with me because he was in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. So I kind of think that, my high school career is where my burden of feeling like I was never doing what I should be doing kind of all began. And it's from the disappointment and frustration of my parents, my teachers, and my lack of a quality high school career that was really reinforcing over and over what led to basically a low self-esteem and a lack of belief in myself. So you might look and think in this case like it's pretty apparent that I wasn't doing what I should be doing in my high school years, but I actually have a different perspective on it now, and I want to share that with you in hopes that you might look at your own circumstances and see all the value of what you are doing right now and where you are and how that applies to your individuality and what you have to offer in the world instead of feeling like you should be doing something else. So see if you relate to this. There have always been people in my life who come in the back of my mind serving as sort of like a measuring stick whenever I check myself about what I am doing and what I think I should be doing. I would say like to myself, is this something that this person would do? Am I good enough in this particular area? I think a little bit of this thinking is okay if the person that you're using to measure yourself is a mentor or a leader or someone to be learned from. But accountability and following worthy examples is one thing. They can lead to growth and they can be very worthwhile. But thinking too much about what someone else would say or do in a situation can lead us to not fully living in the business of being who we are as an individual. So another quick story, I spent 12 years of my life living on a farm with my ex-husband. We had a young son, and I never wanted to live on a farm. I am not a farm person. While my ex-husband was a good person in many ways, he was 27 years older than I was. And we could not have been more different. Eventually, after years of trying to fit into the mold that I thought he wanted me to be, I finally pushed myself to get out of the situation and live life on my own terms, despite knowing that my son would choose to go and stay with his dad and not be with me. And you better believe that I was truly torn between pursuing the life I wanted, one that I wanted to model to my son as well, and the judgment of others on so many levels. Was I doing what I should? Here's the answer. Only I could say that, right? No one else could make the call. And what I know in my heart of hearts was that living on that farm in that rural area, not growing my career the way that I wanted to, or having that freedom to explore my life the way that I was clearly designed to, did not at all align with who I knew I was and what I should be doing, regardless of what anyone else thought. I changed my story by taking one step at a time. I divorced, I moved to Nashville, became a national educator for a luxury hair care brand. I became a partner in one of the city's most established and successful salons. I started a company, which is an on-site hair and makeup company for weddings and special events. And I really reinvented who I was as a stylist. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a hairstylist here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been working behind the chair for about 30 years. So that story is just a very oversimplified summary, but it's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm now on another crossroads though, and this time it's career-wise. And I still work behind the chair in the salon while running an on-site hair and makeup company here in Nashville. I've been a brand educator with Kerastase for 10 years. I look and I think most successful people who are my age in the salon industry no longer take clients. This is like my perception. I think, oh, at my age, I should not still be working behind the chair. Well, these are the things that I would tell myself. These are like the shoulds. I shouldn't be working behind the chair. This is, it's too late for that. It means I'm not successful. I didn't make it. But recently, I've actually started to look at this through a different lens. And I actually enjoy my clients. I love my 2 days a week behind the chair, and I am successful. I do it by choice. And all I need to do to answer the question, am I doing what I should be doing, is remember the little girl who always loved hair, thinking, when I grow up, I'm going to be a hairstylist. Now, my grandmother, she was horrified at this career choice. I mean, I think she actually grieved at this news. It was almost a given in my life that I was going to go to a 4-year college, like no question. I looked up to her so much, and she basically thought I was wasting my brains and talent with a career in hairstyling. But, now at 51, the little girl who could imagine nothing more magical than getting to do people's hair every day for a job that you get paid for, I still find myself loving this work. And I'm really not ashamed to say that I still do hair. And all of this is to say that, you should never feel ashamed of your choices, no matter what. I truly believe that. The high school experience and the 12 years on the farm didn't keep me from my purpose. They were my experiences. And it was really what was in those experiences that taught me. It was how they shaped me and how they unfolded that allowed me to be in the exact right place that I am now in my life. I'm equipped with everything that has transpired with the tools to move on to my next adventure and climb the next mountain. Each mountain is higher with a greater reward. And I'm happier now than I've ever been. On my own, my unique path, knowing that it doesn't look like anyone else's, knowing that through my own unique set of life and career experiences, I am equipped the way that nobody else is. Only I can share and create and continue to shine in this very specific way. So should is not always the best word. I feel like, when it comes to the outside perspective, other people looking at you or judging or what you feel like the outside world expects of you. I have found that we can use it, though, to declare to ourselves what is right for us. But only we can say what our shoulds should be. So asking yourself, what do I really want out of my life? What are my passions? What is important to me? What are my non-negotiables? All of these are questions that can help lead you to know if what you're doing now is what you should be doing, if it's what you feel like you should be on the path to. And we all have answers for ourselves based on, who we are and who we truly want to be. And I feel like we are our own leaders and our tour guides through life, having the experiences that we have and learning to pivot towards our greater purpose on our own, leading ourselves in that direction. So should comes from within, not from the outside. I would just say, trust yourself and live unapologetically without regret.